What is success? Is it something quantifiable? Perhaps something I can predict and see how successful I could be. Maybe one day there'll be an AI generated bot made by those smart data science students that will be able to predict how successful someone could be through small parameters and minute details about their existence. But that is not something that exists right now. And one of the reasons I know this is because every year I see kids as old as grade 3, 4, 5 being considered gifted, prodigies, students that are like this big. Now, these students are expected to be successful, expected to achieve great things in the future when they haven't really started their life yet. And although that's an interesting topic on its own, I want to pivot to the other side of the spectrum. People who aren't necessarily as recognized to become successful, right? Those like you or me. Among us, there's a small portion of people who, despite all the odds, despite people not expecting them to achieve, they have rise to the occasion and sometimes not only succeeded, but outperformed those who were once considered gifted. And that's an interesting thing to talk about, right? It feels like a true underdog story. Someone who is able to beat all the odds due to the luck on their side. Except that's not really that true. Sure, I won't come up here and deny the fact that luck is the key to anyone's success. But at the same time, if you were to put a group of these people in a room, people we consider underdogs, and ask them to tell their life story, how they became successful, you would find that each of these people have moments in their life in which their accounts are the same, where trials and tribulations were faced and they were overcome. The way I like to think of these people and the way I like to think these people operate is with an analogy. Imagine an aspiring sailor, someone who wants to one day conquer the seven seas. So he goes to the harbor, gets his boat, drags it out, but he's met with his first problem. He sees ships, massive, magnificent ships that compared to his small boat look extravagant. These ships are also starting their journey. They zip off to the harbor, into the ocean, and beyond his sight line. Now, to our sailor, he's definitely going to feel a bit disheartened. Many sailors before him have quit before even starting their journey. Why? It's quite simple. Why would you wish to pursue your goal when there are those who are better suited, more capable, and more adept to take your place? But this sailor is different. He believes that despite not having those majestic ships, that he too will one day be able to sail across the sea. And that belief, that dream, is something shared by many people who eventually went on to become pivotal people within their countries and the world. One of the most impactful in this case is someone who lost his mother at the age of 9. Now, I imagine when you or I were 9 years old, our lives were quite simple. We'd go to school, come back from school, and complain to our moms about how bad said school was. But for this person, he didn't have that opportunity. He wasn't that fortunate. Instead of going to school, he was forced to work on his farm, do odd jobs to keep his family afloat. And thus, in his life as a student, he was only able to attend 1 year within school. And now I want you to imagine that you were that person. Without an education, motherly guidance, or finances, do you really think you would go on to become someone successful? Thankfully for us, this person wasn't the average person. He self-taught himself how to read and write, how to become a successful law student and a famous lawyer, a political candidate, and eventually the President of the United States, or Abraham Lincoln. Someone whose impact on the USA and the Civil War has restructured the country into what we see it as today. For a moment, imagine if Abraham Lincoln didn't have the will to dream, if he didn't believe that he could make it one day, I personally don't think the world and the US would be the same. But unfortunately for our sailor, his troubles don't end here. So he sets sail, but as soon as he gets off the harbor, he's met with terrible storms and rough currents, currents that total his ship and make him go back to the harbor. Now, these currents and these storms are not much of a problem for those majestic, mighty ships that he saw earlier, for their captains are brave and their ships are strong, and they easily brave through the weather. But our sailor has to adjust, doesn't he? He has to improve. Again, at this point, many sailors before him have quit. But as I said before, he's a bit different. He decides to rebuild his ship from the ground up using different materials, stronger materials, better craftsmanship, and finer refinement. And he goes out to sea and tries again and gets absolutely wrecked again, has to go all the way back to shore. I mean, it's not that easy, is it? He has to try again and again and again. But as he tries and as he slowly improves himself, this sailor becomes more aware of the sea, his inexperience long gone. He tries again and again and again until his rickety old boat is now a capable vessel. Note, it's not as mighty as those beautiful ships, but along with his navigational skills, it can handle any weather or currents you throw at it. Let me allow you to bring your attention to another story. A story about a struggling writer who had a prominent idea for a novel which she wanted to publish but was unable to because once again her mother died and she had to push on with other things in her life. So she got married, but that marriage didn't work out and she was left divorced and without any money. Forced to return to said novel, she tried to get it to be published. Publisher after publisher said no. This book won't sell. Now, if it was you or me, we would probably stop after the third or fourth book. It's not going to sell. But this woman was different. And thankfully she was, because by the 13th publisher, the book that was published was Harry Potter by J.K. Rowling. A book so pivotal and so important that it made her one of the most famous, richest, self-made women in the world. And on the ocean, our sailor has now passed the difficulties of these storms. But he faces one final challenge: pirates. And I'm not talking about those Western hippie pirates, but real ravenous pirates who pillage his ship for everything he has. But the thing with pirates is, they are not that picky, are they? They will attack anyone. And that includes those once mighty, powerful ships that our sailor didn't believe he could make up to. Now, when the captains of those mighty ships are forced to return back to the harbor, they are very unlikely to start their journey again. Why? Because they don't want to deal with the shame and the hard work of rebuilding their ship. But our sailor is different. He has rebuilt his ship so many times that no longer is it an issue. This time, he puts cannons on his ship and allies himself with a strong, powerful crew that can fend off any pirate attack. And now, he can sail the seas unafraid, seeing the wreckages of those once mighty ships he thought he'd never reach. The point I'm trying to make here today is that we all have our own ship. A ship that might not be as mighty or extravagant as some other people's ships who are gifted, talented. But once again, I doubt we have that wooden dinghy boat that our sailor once had. So the next time you feel as though you can't achieve something, that you're not strong enough or not talented enough to become or achieve what you want to achieve, bring your ship back to the harbor, rebuild it, and try again. Thank you.